We're going to be taking a little bit of time as they come into the public forum. I see we have our first submitter though, Sheryl Welby. Hope I've pronounced your name correctly, Sheryl. If you would like to turn on your screen and your noise and your volume. Are you there, Sheryl?
Audio now unmuted.
Are you able to hear me now?
We are, Sheryl. Thank you.
Okay. Now,
before you start, are you wanting to turn your screen on?
that may be difficult because I'm blind.
Right. In that case, that's fine. We will continue on. Now, would you like a description of what we're wearing and who's in the room?
Just basically tell me who is in the room and their titles so that I know. Yeah.
Okay, sure thing. So I'm Angie Warren-Clark. I'm appearing by Zoom, and I'm the chair. We'll go to the members from Zoom in Zoom first. We'll get them to introduce themselves to you, and then the members in the room. We also have some officials, and we also have our clerks here. So ngā mihi nui, kia koe, welcome. Sheryl, if we could move round to introduce ourselves, please.
Kia ora, Sheryl. My name is Anna Hila. I am a list MP based in Papakura, Auckland.
Nice to meet you.
Kia ora, Sheryl. My name's Dr. Emily Henderson, and I am the electorate MP for Labour in Whangarei.
Again, nice to meet you.
Talofa, Sheryl. Thank you for your time today. My name is Teresa Ngubi. I am the electorate Labour MP for the Otaki electorate.
Yes, you're my electorate.
Yes, that's right.
Great. Thank you, Teresa. Nice to meet you.
And we are still waiting for Jan Logie to join in public session, but she will be here shortly. So if we could now move to those who are in the room in person in Wellington.
Good morning, Sheryl. I'm Louise Upston. I'm the National MP for the Taupo electorate.
Thank you.
Hello, Sheryl. My name is Maureen Pugh, and I'm Nationals List MP based in West Coast, Tasman.
Nice to meet you.
And we also have Liz Craig, who has just joined. Liz, if you could introduce yourself.
Kia ora, Sheryl. I'm Liz Craig, Labour List MP based in Invercargill.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Right, we have 10 minutes with you, Sheryl. Please take your submission as being read. And if you'd like to leave some time for questions, please do so. We're in your hands.
Thank you. Yes, I just really feel that
has joined the meeting.
This accessibility bill is very, very important to all disabled people in New Zealand. And particularly, I mean, I'm just finding it really difficult to get employment. I lost my job a couple of years ago because of COVID, and I have so many qualifications and a lot of experience in administration and client services, management positions. And I get to the last hurdle where it's either a face-to-face interview and they realize I'm blind and they don't want to progress with it. And it's just, yeah, I've got nowhere to go, nowhere to help me or whatever. And I really need to get employment so I can live. I've got health issues that cost me a lot of money. Yeah, I haven't got a guide dog at the moment, and I'm finding that really challenging to even go and get my groceries. And yeah, I've got no access to the community at the moment without a guide dog. And I'm actually fighting that through, trying to fight it through health and disability, because yeah, there just is an issue there. And I was really hoping that this accessibility bill would really help lay the foundations for us so that we could have equal opportunities in the community. Yeah, but as it's written at the moment, it just doesn't seem to help. And I just wondered, you know, that this really needs to be re-looked at and, you know, changed so that it does help who it's supposed to help.
Is that your submission, Sheryl?
Well,
Did
I
you
mean,
want to say
basically, I think the majority, I mean, I wrote exactly, yeah, I presented it mostly in writing, and I just really wanted to follow it up in the sense of with people at Parliament. I mean, I don't think a lot of people in Parliament really realise the difficulties that the disabled people have in the community. And accessibility is huge.
Thank you, Sheryl. We've got a couple of questions from the room. So first question is Teresa Ngolby, and then we have Maureen Pugh in the meeting room. So Teresa.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you again, Sheryl, for your written submission, but also your submission today. Just quickly, if I can, Chair, look, let's, outside of this select committee, Sheryl, let's contact each other and see where we in my office can help you with some of the other issues around employment and accessing your dog guide dog and the others. But I just wanted to also go back to your submission, and so I know you talk a little bit about I guess the flaws of this bill as you see it, but I'm wondering a couple of things. I know that it's not in I guess the form that we've heard from others that this is not in a form that you may agree with at the moment, but I'm really interested to hear if this is a good start, and we've heard some other suggestions, I guess, of how we can make it better. Is that something that you could speak to, Sheryl?
Yes, I mean, definitely. I mean, I have advocated for disability in many platforms. I'm a member of the DPA, and yeah, I just am interested in where all this is going. Yeah, and if I can help, you know, make it better, then yeah, so be it. I mean, I'm going to help myself in the long run as well, because I'm going to be helping all disabled people in the community to be able to progress and do what they want to do in life. I mean, we've only got one crack of life, and I just feel that it's completely wasted because I'm sitting at home, I can't do anything, can't go anywhere, and I'm completely isolated, both socially. Yeah.
Thank you, Sheryl. Look, we'll move on to Maureen Pugh.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Sheryl, for participating in the submission process on this bill. Can you please clarify what it is you would like to see the bill be a lot more explicit about in terms of the challenges that you see and where you think the legislation could be improved?
I just feel that as the legislation stands, as you know, when it goes through Parliament, that there's going to be a committee put in place, and it's going to slow things down even further. And I just feel that things are not going to be done. It's just going to be, just going to be sidetracked, and we will be worse off than we are now.
So what would you like to see changed in the legislation to ensure that there was more action. Do you have any suggestions for us?
I think it's how the bill is presented to Parliament and what it is actually going to stand for and do for the accessibility for disabled people. I mean, we need to have an input, and I feel as though we need a voice as well. And I think with just having a Ministry of Disabled, I still think there'll be a lot of things just sidelined or swept under the carpet and not even actioned and done, you know. I mean, there needs to be a lot of changes out there, and I think we need to be kept in touch, informed, communicated with, and that's, yeah, I mean, that hasn't even started.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We're now at the end of time, Sheryl, but I just want to assure you that we have heard you, and things sound fairly grim for you at the moment. Kia kaha, my friend. Hopefully spend some time with your local MP to see about some of those solutions for you. But your submission is valuable, and you spending time with us today is as well.
Yeah.
So thank you, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We now have Diane Drayton by Zoom. Welcome, Diane. We are we can see your that you are present and that your sound is on. Do you want to turn on your camera, or are you happy to do your submission without your camera being on?
I'd like my camera on.
There you are. Wonderful. Look, Diane, I'm not sure if you heard our introductions before as to who is here. Many of us by Zoom. There's Maureen Pugh and the Honourable Louise Upston in the room, plus a number of clerks. We have 10 minutes with you. Thank you for your submission. Take it as read. And if you would like to start with some comments, and then if you want to leave some time for questions, please do so. We're in your hands. Ngā mihi nui.
Great, thank you. My submission might be quite short. So I support New Zealand having a bill, and I'm quite excited about it. But I do think that in its current form, it needs it's a little bit or quite weak, and I don't think it's going to be effective. The Accessibility Governance Board will have the power to make recommendations, but they can't enforce them. And I think a good example of recommendations, or even it's actually government mandates that don't have the power of legislation to enforce them, is the New Zealand Web Standards. So they were mandated by government in 2003. And then in 2018, government departments signed the Accessibility Charter, and that was based on the United Nations rights of disabled people. And that government departments at that time, or part of that charter, is a promise to make government accessible to disabled people, so websites and buildings and printed documentation and things like that would be made accessible. So this morning, there's a report that comes out every year done by an organisation called WebAIM, and it looks at the top 1 million websites, and it tests them for accessibility as an automated accessibility checker. So I've just been in there now to have a look, and I did a search on .gov.nz, and I have found 15 websites, government websites, that have come up in that report as having accessibility issues. And I think if I was searched even more carefully, or quite possibly I searched more carefully, I would find more websites. And when I go and have a look at the failures, there are things like color contrast and alt text. So they're actually quite easy things to fix. And I think, well, yeah, because the standards are only mandated and they're not legislated, when push comes to shove and timelines are tight and budgets are tight, people are doing what they have to do to meet what they have to meet. And we need the backing of actual legislation that's enforceable to get people to meet them. And I think, and I've talked to a lot of people mainly about web accessibility, and a lot of people actually care, but they don't know what to do, and they need guidance. And I think that having a legislation from government is the guidance we need with the enforcement we need to actually get things moving. So that's my submission is, yeah, Ed, I would, if I could, or the thing that I would like to see is the New Zealand Web Standards become part of this bill as a starting point, and then more standards, so for building and physical accessibility, get implemented as those standards are built or developed. But at the moment, we have a really good base for web and possibly for building, I'm not sure. But yeah, that's my submission.
Thank you, Diane. A really thoughtful submission. And I guess our comment really from me is that it is really, it must be incredibly frustrating to, go and even our baseline, our gov.nz is not accessible or useful. So I can hear your frustration there. And thank you for the comment around enforceability as well. I think it's one that we've heard a lot from the community, from all submitters who've talked about that. So thank you for that as well. I'll come now to Liz Craig.
Thanks, Diane. Just really useful. Just in terms of the web accessibility, have you seen any countries that have done that well?
The UK Gov is doing a good job. They have a template for all their websites, and they've got a really good design system. So we actually, yeah, when we're looking for good examples, because even if we could do that, then people who are using websites would know they're going to find this information in this corner and this information over here. The Canadian government have got some really good stuff. But yeah, UK Gov is one of the, they've done a great job.
So you're saying there's a willingness, it's just a matter of people wanting that information about what would be that best practice in that area.
What to do. And sometimes they need a bit more authority to actually do it, because everybody has priorities, and they have to meet what they've been told to meet by the people above them. So sometimes having that they don't just want to know what to do, but they want a bit more a way of enforcing it, or just a bit more authority to be able to do it, or be able to say this has to be done.
Okay, thank you.
That's okay.
Thank you. We have a hand up in the room, Honourable Louise Upston.
Thanks, Diane. You were referring to a website to check the accessibility of the New Zealand government websites. Are you able to let us know what that website reference is? Even if you put it in the chat or email it later would be really helpful.
Cool. I can put it in the chat. Of let's get the sorry.
Or just read it out.
Talking and doing is my not my.
You're welcome to just read it out or tell us what it's called, and we can record that.
Okay, it's webaim.org, and it's the WebAIM millions. So put it here. I'll put it in the chat as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And looks like we have another question from Maureen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks very much, Diane. You raised a good point with the mandating of government departments and then following up with being signatories to the Accessibility Charter. I'm just thinking from a procedural point of view in the Select Committee that I could ask the officials to find out how we insert a reporting line into those government departments' annual reports. Because one thing we do find is that when we shine a bit of light on certain issues, that it does tend to focus their attention. So maybe a reporting line asking them what progress is being made towards that mandate could be a very simple first start.
Yeah, so there was a reporting when the government departments did have to self-report, but I think, yeah, there's a sort of a lack of resource or lack of people working in the area of accessibility as well. So yeah, but I think in some cases it just needs a lot more oomph to actually get it over the line and get people doing it.
Yeah, and what we've noticed in other entities is that until they have to report on it and explain why they're not achieving it does tend to shift their priorities.
Yeah,
might have a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, we're nearly at time, Diane, anyway. Hey, thank you for that notation from WebAIM. I'm going to have a good little play with that and have a look as well. Really thoughtful submission, really useful, and I think some good questions from our team here as well around this particular focus. I think, as we move into a more digital world, it's so important that everyone is taken along at the same speed. So thank you for your submission, and hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ka
kite.
Ka kite.
Now, I am actually now going to hand the chair to Anahila Kanoata Suisuiki, as I am leaving the meeting shortly. So if, with that, I think we have, I'm not sure if we have the next submitter present as of yet, but I'm moving the chair to Anahila. So thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have the New Zealand Council of Trade Union, Kaimahi Whaikaha, in person and by Zoom. Are they in person now?
Yes.
Right. So welcome. You have 15 minutes for your submission, and people do love to ask questions. So if you can leave time for members, that would be great. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Are we expecting someone on Zoom?
No, unfortunately, my colleague is an apology.
Thank you.
So first off, thank you for your time, and thank you for allowing us to speak. I am one of the co-conveners of Kaimahi Whaikaha, which is the disabled worker sector group of the Council of Trade Unions. And I am speaking on behalf of the Council of Trade Union submission as the disabled representative. I will take the submission as read. Our opinions of this legislation is that it is weak, it is not strong, it will not enable disabled workers and those who aspire to work. It will not transform their lives. And we are aware that there have been committees with similar functions in the past. And our question is, how does this legislation create them to be this iteration to be any different? For me, I am disabled. My employment has previously been affected by my disability. I've been told by employers that I should not talk about my disability because it makes people feel uncomfortable. And I've had accommodations denied because they do not want to be seen as providing special treatment. So my question is, how does this legislation change that? How does it get people to have aspirations if they are disabled by society and by the legislative structures of this country. My understanding is that actually as a disability community, we speak on a lot of shared items. We share similar issues, and our question is, why are we having a committee when we are already speaking with a united voice? We're already saying the same things about the COVID-19 response. We all care about digital inclusion. We think that the protections and support for people with neurodiversity is not adequate. We think the cost of living is leaving us behind. We think it's appalling that benefits are tied to our partners' incomes. You know, we are incredibly disappointed that social insurance has been removed from this government's agenda. And for us as Kaimahi Whaikaha, we think it is abhorrent that the Minimum Wage Exemption Act continues to exist, especially when this government has assured us that it is a priority that will get changed. At this moment in time, we have disabled people in New Zealand who are paid $1.25 an hour. That's $50 a week before tax, to do 40 hours of work because they are seen as less than human, because we have a minimum wage and we say that is the minimum wage for humans and people in New Zealand. Yet this government legislates and creates the mechanisms for this to happen. And we think that is abhorrent. For us, we want a regulatory system. We want a system with teeth. That's what we expected from this legislation. For me, this smells like a bill that was once really ambitious. It was designed to create great change, and we have really passionate public servants behind it. But it feels like as it has moved through processes, it has become sanitized, it has become muted to the point where we have a legislation that gives us a committee. It doesn't give us genuine, meaningful, powerful ways to exist in society alongside able-bodied people.
Thank you for your submission. And I like the fact that you have clearly noted that in your written submission. And because we have 2 members in the room, I'll ask if they've got questions, and then we'll go to Zoom. Louise, do you have a question? Oh, Maureen, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Understand, because we've heard it many times in submissions around the disappointment of this bill to deliver tangible outcomes. So I just wondered, what would you like to see in this bill that we can suggest as changes to make it more effective?
I think alongside a governance function, we need a regulatory function that actually monitors and keeps organisations accountable with a structure that is stronger than what we have currently, because at the moment, disabled people are routinely discriminated against. And our only avenue is really the Human Rights Commission. And that is a difficult and fraught process. Whereas we don't have something equivalent to, for example, the Labour Inspectorate or WorkSafe inspectors, where people actually have the ability to say, I am being discriminated against in my workplace. I'm being discriminated before I even get in the door of a workplace. What can I do to actually get the opportunity that I want to have a meaningful life? And actually, when disabled people get jobs, there's the option for their employer to pay them less than the minimum wage. And how is that enabling them to be able to have independent lives?
So, so you're talking about an enforcement arm,
yes,
within the organisation that has the power to enforce the discrimination.
Yes,
okay.
And
to hold those companies, businesses, entities to account.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. And did you have a question, Louise?
No.
All right. Members on Zoom, I see there are no questions. All right. Thank you for your submission. It usually means that your written submission and what you've shared has really been clear and succinct, and that's why It's not often that members in this Zoom have no question. So we want to take this opportunity to thank you for your submission, and we have read and understood your 5-page submission, and those good questions that you have asked, we will discuss them in our deliberations. So thank you.
Well, thank you. We are eager to continue working with those who are working on this bill.
Thank you. Right, members, our next submitter is Rebecca Corlett by Zoom. She's now unavailable. So I think if Dot Wilson is not, oh, we've got Deaf Action New Zealand. All right, sorry about that. I'm managing 2 screens. So welcome, Deaf Action New Zealand. Are you in the room?
Yes. Yes. They're coming to the table.
Come forward, please. Welcome.
My name is Kim Robinson. I'm Chairperson for Deaf Action New Zealand.
I'm actually Noble Secretary for Deaf Action. I've just realised I've been drifted back. It's all good now.
Welcome to the Social Services Select Committee, and you have 15 minutes, and members do have questions if you'd like to leave time for questions, and I'll over to you now.
Sorry, can I interrupt and ask if Kim's introduction was captured by the sign language interpreter?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the arrangement, but so yeah, if you can both work, that about if you both work. Yeah.
That was a yes.
Deaf Action, we oppose this bill in its current form. We do not see this as the solution to resolving CIS in New Zealand. Well, we had extensive experience of advocating for CIS barriers being removed that are still being advocated for today. For example, visual alerting devices. In 2016, Deaf Action petitioned Parliament to update the fire safety legislation to improve safety for all those who are deaf and hard of hearing by requiring visual fire alarms be installed in public buildings. We have completed an update of New Zealand Standard 4512 and 4514 in 2021. We asked NBIE to implement these standards into the building code. To date, to the wisdom, they meet in our organisation this afternoon to discuss this. It's 2023, 7 years after we started, and not one building has been made safe. 7 years. What happened? It went on elsewhere. These people are still being left behind in fire alarms. I'm one of them. No one checked the toilets. I walked out of the building and everyone looked at me in horror as they knew they failed the fire door. So let's hope the button doesn't need to step in to this matter.
I'm going to talk about the airline example. When you travel overseas, often the safety information is presented in sign language. In New Zealand, it doesn't happen. So we brought that up with the chief executive of New Zealand at the time, Chris Lupton, and he passed it on to staff, and as you can tell, nothing happened. So we passed it on to the AA, who really backtracked and wanted to follow the American version, who gave them bad advice. Anyway, so we went to the Ombudsman, and it's been a long ongoing process there, but they're doing, the conversations are happening. So hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months, we will have an announcement that something will happen. But again, it shouldn't have taken so long, and it shouldn't take people like us to have to put that much of our own time into advocating for it. So, yeah.
Keeping New Zealand. In 2017, this action led a human rights complaint. Being keeping New Zealand has dynamic interpretation of civil defence emergencies and election debate within dynamic interpreted. Last year, in August, September, the Human Rights Review Tribunal heard a case. We are currently waiting for the tribunal to make a ruling. Waiting for that case. Is it a right to get information in New Zealand Sign Language? Yes. Information that could make a difference between living and dying. I'm sure you read a recent article about this lady who lacked access to sign language information, whose studio outside was flooded with water nearly entering her heart. She lived 2 houses away from his descendant up on the same street. It's not good enough to only provide interpreters next day when people were to separate for information updates on news and sign language. One New Zealand Sign Language interpreter booking agency was never contacted to provide interpreters. Some interpreters made themselves available in indication for the Queen to interpret any news updates, for example. None of them were contacted. None of them. Auckland Council in Ministry Management has been aware of this need. We engaged with them years earlier over urgent access to New Zealand Sign Language information. Someone forgot. We signed the UNCPRD's convention, right? This case has been without controversy, where DPO has been opposing our advocacy in this area as they see this as a competition to stifle our organisation advocacy. These cases are a tiny fraction of what's to come. There will be more human rights cases filed, including the case against Crown, over the lack of New Zealand Sign Language for Day. Isn't it tricky about us too? How long have I been bringing up this issue, Emily's? Long enough for this to become a human rights case?
Okay. So, sign language doesn't fit in politics. Now, we've got the sign language board, but it's not a channel in which we can advocate or achieve change. It has a very different purpose, which actually eliminates our voices of the community when it comes to accessibility. So we're trying to find a space where we can advocate, where we can work with people to actually achieve accessibility. But when there's things that get in the way, right, go further back. And it makes it's become harder in the last 10 years or so to progress change. And this community has a long, rich community history of advocating and achieving change across so many things. But for the last 10 years, it's just become so hard. And so we would like to make sure that whatever's set up going forward means that we can achieve work to maintain that momentum of the past. Yes.
One example I used, I had a meeting with MSD about ORA requests. I actually went to book the free video interpreter service. Free. It doesn't cost a cent, free. But they didn't understand that. They insisted I use a paid interpreter booking insist. The logic escaped me. In conclusion, the point is our human rights values are broken, very broken. So broken it needs to rebuild. Even this bill has sinister undertone too. It's not a disability-led matter. It's been hijacked by a number of organisations that have no understanding of the harm they're creating. Of course, they can walk away when things go bad. We can't. We have to live with it. We have to. So this just go back to the drawing board. Include disabled people only in legislation design, people who have know-how and experience to do so. Even better, Needs Matter under the Human Rights Act, we can have better legislative teeth.
I would just a little bit with my work hat, but the Accessibility Charter is a tool that we do have that enables the community to engage with the agency to make changes, but like with the previous speaker, it needs more teeth and it needs to be more robust. For my organisation, we amended the charter to suit the purpose of our agency. So Capital Coast and Hutt Valley DHB, but now we're putting forward a proposal to the Te Whātua board to sign the Accessibility Charter. We will amend it, but then that will give me and my team the ability to make it happen. And we engage with the community in doing that. But we're worried, and Deaf Action is worried, that by having all these extra layers in there, we can't actually make anything happen. But we need to put the onus back onto the agency, that Te Whātua or everyone else. But also in my situation, I'm really lucky. I have a team of about 10 people now. 8 of us have disabilities, and we're working across multiple parts of the organisation, but working towards achieving the same thing, which is an inclusive, rights-based, inclusive and accessible healthcare service, so that we can access health services in the same way as everyone else. When people understand that, they're willing to do it. They're willing to take it on. Often it doesn't cost money. It's just change the questions on the form or just make the system work better. And the transformation is great for that. We're running out of time.
We have to put our hands up to get a question.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing your information. Before I forget, Kim, you were reading from some notes. I'm wondering if you can leave those notes with us, with the committee, if you can. Yes, we have.
It's a new day, electronic copies.
Oh, great.
Thank you. We have 2 questions and we've got one in the room. So we'll go into the room with Maureen and Louise.
Thank you. Thank you for your submission. My question is, you will have interacted with lots of government agencies. Who does it the best currently that can be held up as better practice, if not best practice? Your organisation, maybe?
No. The work that we're doing in Te Whātua is incredible. It's not yet sort of so out there publicly, but if you look at the new Te Pātata, the new action plan for the next year, it's the first time the disability community has been acknowledged as a priority group with Māori Pacific and disability. And a big emphasis on Māori people with disabilities and Pacific people with disabilities. And the actions in there are wide-reaching throughout the whole organisation. It's been signed off. It's an incredible model. I'm really proud to be part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And was there another question from the room? If not,
yes, there is.
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
Angie, thank you, Arahila, sorry. So in terms of this bill that we have in front of us, do you have any suggestions apart from starting again about how we can make it better?
I think the Accessibility Charter having a bit more clarity and teeth in reporting accountability, but putting the onus on the agency to find ways to improve their accessibility response within the organisation.
In this action, we're not part of the Accessibility Charter. We've been included from it.
Yeah, from the Access Alliance movement, because it had to go, we had to go through a service provider
And they're not a service provider.
So our boy.
Thank you. Thank you for answering our questions. We now go to Dr. Emily Henderson.
Kia ora, and a special welcome to my constituent, of whom Whangarei is very proud, Kim Robinson. It's great to see you here, Kim. And as always, a compelling and powerfully put presentation. I did want to just ask you, I noted your use of the Human Rights Commission. I wanted to say first, I understand that there are some views that perhaps the Human Rights Commission should be lost, which I strongly disagree with, and I'd be interested in that. But also in terms of the overall exercise that we are engaged in here, in the creation of a new ministry, the first of its kind, and a work in progress though it is. Are you heartened by that, at least, baby steps though we are taking?
We need more time. We need more time to talk about this. To have
We Kim can have more time in Whangarei. That would be very good, as ever.
Thank you, members.
If that would be better, I'm happy with that.
Okay.
Happy to do that.
Thank you, members. We have 1 minute left. Kim, if you have any further additions, it's over to you now.
Just that I think it'd be wonderful to really see disability leadership and disability ownership come in. I think government agencies need to be government agencies. The community needs to be the community. And we've lost our way in that map. And I think we've blurred the line. And
so then we only have the only tools in our toolbox is the Human Rights Act and Office software button to take up any action and nothing else. This is what you shut us down.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us and answering our questions. And thank you for providing the petitions that we can refer to as a select committee. And please do leave those notes with us. Thank you for, we're out of time now, so thank you so much.
thank you.
Members, we have Rebecca Corlett scheduled for Zoom, but she is unable to make it. So if Dr. Wilson is not on Zoom, we will adjourn for 10 minutes and come back.
Is on Zoom, Madam Chair.
Oh, she is on Zoom? All right, Dot, all right. Well, Dot's on Zoom now, so we will continue if that's okay. Dot, are you able to see us or hear us? Dot, can you hear me, Dot? You're on, you need to unmute yourself. Yes.
Yes, and I need to put video on. Hi.
Oh, hi, Dot. Welcome. Were you present when we did our introductions, or would you prefer us to introduce ourselves?
No, I'll introduce myself and we'll kind of go from there. Otherwise, I'll lose track. Look, I'm Dot Wilson, and I'm a 69-year-old woman who has lived experience of disability. I've been fighting for access and inclusion all of my life, and I'd like you to know that I'm tired and I'm worn out. And I'd also like you to know that many of my colleagues in the past who've gone on, and we're the ones with the knowledge. And I just kind of feel that the knowledge is being lost, you know, as things have come by. We were around, I mean, I'm a life member of DPA, Disabled Persons Assembly, and I'm now a woman who has a brain impairment because I had a brain tumour. So please excuse me, I'm just going to speak how I feel. I was really excited with the United Nations Convention when we signed up for it. I was doubly excited when we ratified it. And then when, you know, when we got the ministry to Kaha, what it was called, I was excited about that too. But now I'm feeling disillusioned. I am feeling like this is just going on and on and on, committee after committee after committee. And I wonder where the voice of disabled people from the community, from what's happening out there, is being lost. I have a special interest in the abuse of disabled accommodations that have been made. For example, access to public bathrooms, new builds, things like that. When accommodations are made and then something happens and someone comes along and thinks, gosh, that space would be good to put in something else, like a cleaning cupboard or you know, a storage place or whatever. Or then, well, why is the toilet seat, you know, why does the toilet come out so far and it hasn't got a toilet seat on it? Well, let's put one on it. And then it bangs against the wall. So, oh gosh, that's no good. What will we do then? Well, we'll put a bar around it, and then that'll make it so it doesn't bang against the wall, but therefore it disables the toilet. And so people with various size bottoms and what have you that need that accommodation can no longer use it. Now, there are examples of that at Southland Hospital, and that, you know, and that was a new build not so many long ago. I was at the launch of that and so proud of that. Some new builds in Queenstown that I've come across. Again, you know, same thing happening. So I ask, you know, where's the accountability? Why do we as disabled people have to be the ones who have to keep monitoring and bringing up areas that need to be addressed when we shouldn't have to do that? You know, there needs to be accountability. There needs to be standards. There needs to be independent regulation. You know, whose responsibility is that? I don't feel that it belongs to me and those who come after me. You know, it's that. We need to have a dispute resolution process. I want to see some action. I don't want to see any more kind of like, let's talk about it. Let's have words about it. What can we do? You know, disabled people come in all shapes and sizes, all ethnicities. You know, we're all human beings and we all have these needs. And disability is complex, but please listen to the people who have the wisdom, who have the experience, the lived life. That is what I'm asking of you.
Thank you, Dot. We've heard you loud and clearly. Members, do you have a question? Dr. Liz Craig.
Hi, Dot. Thank you very much. And yeah, I know you're from Whaikaha, and just want to thank you for your advocacy, you know, over many years in this area. One of the things you talked about was just that loss of almost institutional memory in terms of as the advocates, you know, have changed over time. And I think the other thing you're saying is, you know, how do we get that voice heard? What would you know, in terms of the committee that we're looking at forming and this legislation, how do you think we could retain that institutional memory and really get those voices included in where we're going moving forward?
Liz, I don't know. I just know that you know, like I can only talk from what's happened in Invercargill with parking meters and new builds and things like that, and having been, you know, consulted, gone to a public meeting, and then that stuff gets lost. What we get, then we get the argument afterwards that we need to not, you know, not have accessible parks down in Esk Street, for instance. Let's close it off. You know, there's enough parking in the mall and all the rest of it. And yet we've consulted with the community, we've consulted with the disabled people who have brought forward and said, hey, look, will vans be able to access that building? My van is higher. And then we find out that no, that doesn't work. We also find out that now there's talk about that they're going to don't close it off. Have they taken into consideration how far you have to walk to get through the mall, through the shops? If you can cope with the lighting, you can't take your mobility scooter through there. Through Farmers, for instance, you would take it out, go out into the East Street, and then go to where you've got to go. Now, if you're mobility impaired and you use aids and appliances, like myself, but I'm still independent and like to be able to drive myself there, I feel I can't do that anymore. I feel like I'm being pushed out, and I know I'm not alone. There just doesn't seem to be understanding. So I think it's really, really important that we do have that voice. And I don't know how you're going to find it, because, I'm feeling like a lone voice down here at times, because my colleagues, my raise the flag people have all died around me. And even the younger people that we have been, mentoring, they seem to have, not lived long lives either. So, look, surely, DPA, where's DPA in this? There's the Access Alliance, and I'm not up with all the other organisations that are out there anymore, because I don't have my health's not there. But I just know it's really important. There's been so much work that's been done in the past. Has it just all been lost? Do we just have to keep reinventing the wheel all the time? I don't know.
So making sure we've got really good connections between what's happening in the community and the committee, and making sure we capture that. But thank you, Dot. Appreciate it.
I don't know, Liz. I just, it's me. I just feel passionate, and it's not just about me. It's about those who come after me, but also honouring those who've gone before me. We have come a long way as a country, and on the world stage, we've achieved a lot. But we don't want to be in a place where we're going to look silly in the disability community, worldwide. People are out there that they're watching us to see what we're going to do, and we have this wonderful chance to be able to make this the best that we can. So there are some parts of this this bill thing, that are okay, but there's parts of it that aren't. We need to make it better, and please don't ask me which parts they are, because they're not in my head at the moment. Okay. Okay. So anyone else want to have a go?
I see there are no more questions from members, Dot, but as I've said before, we hear what you've said, and we will definitely take it into account in our considerations. And we are now almost out of time, so
yeah, that's okay.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Members, we have one submission from Simply Resolution. They are scheduled for 12:40. They won't be here until then, so we will suspend. We'll take a break, and we'll be back. So just go off camera, and we'll be back at 12:40. Thank you. Welcome back, members. We're waiting for the submitter to be submitted into our Zoom, or are they in person? They are by Zoom. If the clerk can admit them as a panel, that would be great. Thank you. Welcome, Jessica. Can you hear me? If you can unmute and turn on your camera, if you can. All right. Welcome, Jessica Plachecki of Simply Solutions. We have 15 minutes with you, and members do like to ask questions if you can leave time for questions.
Thank you. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa, ko Jess Plachecki, tā kawengawa. I'm presenting today on behalf of Simply Resolution. I'm the Operations Manager of Simply Resolution and our schemes in the tertiary education and accident compensation system. We are one of Aotearoa New Zealand's leaders in resolving disputes. Our vision is to create a better future together by using our knowledge and our experience to help with resolution. We operate multiple dispute resolution schemes that sit at the interface between government and the private sector and New Zealanders. Our values are to find a better way, get the job done, and be stronger together. We do thank you for the opportunity to submit on the accessibility bill for New Zealanders and to speak here with you today. We are supportive of the bill, but consider that some changes are required. We recommend 2 key changes. First is the insertion of a dispute resolution scheme for disputes about the accessibility system. Second is the insertion of signatory providers, which would allow organisations that are not specified organisations to voluntarily enter into the same obligations as specified organisations. Today, some of our recommendations are drawn from our experience and our knowledge in the dispute resolution sector and our work on improving access to justice in other statutory schemes, including the ACC system and the tertiary education system. We have also made recommendations based on our experience as an operator of the Domestic Tertiary Dispute Resolution Scheme and our familiarity of the Education and Training Act 2020. Our choice to draw your attention to the Education and Training Act 2020 is particularly to highlight the dispute resolution clauses in this Act. It was recently enacted, and we believe it is well considered and provides for a well-constructed dispute resolution scheme. It is also largely considered to be the most advanced dispute resolution system that exists in statutes. We also consider it a good example where multiple organisations are involved, i.e. at the moment over 500 different organisations. Yet because there is a system and rules that are to be complied with, good dispute resolution that is consistent, efficient, equitable and effective for students and providers, no matter which organisation they're associated with, exists. And we believe this would be similar to the accessibility system that is made up of multiple organisations with obligations, their own internal processes, and an effective way for identifying and addressing systemic issues. We consider that the accessibility bill needs to have a dispute resolution scheme, and that the best model for this is the Education and Training Act 2020, specifically Part 5, Subpart 7, sections 536 to 539 of this Act. Like the Education and Training Act 2020, that included regulatory making power to create a dispute resolution scheme through the Education, Domestic Tertiary Student Contract Dispute Resolution Scheme Rules 2021, we consider that this regulatory power also be included in the primary legislation for accessibility. Rules which would need to be discussed and defined at a later stage would create an external independent process with the scheme where issues can be raised, considered and resolved by consensus-based dispute resolution, and systemic issues can be identified and referred to the appropriate committee, regulatory body. We consider that issues and disputes should in most cases try to be resolved by consensus, and that there needs to be a central organisation that coordinates all the various regulatory and decision-making organisations that will exist within the accessibility system. Consensus-based dispute resolution is more efficient, effective, and has real value as the first mechanism of dispute resolution. When resolution is not possible, then the dispute resolution scheme can put the problem, issue, and dispute back on track for effective and efficient resolution by the appropriate organisation. In our written submissions, we set out proposed draft provisions that would enable a dispute resolution scheme. I won't go into all the detail of this today, as it is provided in our written subs. However, thought it would be good to address some of that at a high level with you today. We consider that this should recognise that an accessibility dispute resolution scheme is established. The scheme operator is minister appointed, and that would ensure independence from the organisation administering the accessibility system. The scheme should have a purpose, and that there are different types of disputes that the scheme can resolve. There is an opportunity for resolution with a specified entity or signatory entity first. The timeframe for dispute and lodgement, we consider that this should be no later than 2 years after the date of the act or omission on which the dispute is based. It's binding if an adjudicative decision, or it is produced by consensual methods and the parties to the dispute have agreed to it to be binding. That needs to consider the DRS operator fees, which is the dispute resolution scheme, how the dispute resolution scheme should operate, and it should be in a manner that contributes to an accessibility system that honours Te Tiriti of Waitangi and supports Māori and Crown relationships, and that it is fair, takes into account the law and dispute resolution best practice. We consider that the District Court can enforce a dispute resolution scheme, and that things such as the amount paid to the operator and operator fees needs to be talked about. That's our oral submissions on behalf of Simply Resolution. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today with you, and I'm happy to take any questions. If I'm unable to take those questions, more than happy to jot down a note of that and happy to come back to you.
Thank you, Jessica, for your very detailed submission, written and orally. I see that you were perhaps reading from your notes, and if we could have those notes, that would be great. Members, do you have questions? We have a question from Maureen Pugh.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just a couple of questions, please, Jessica. Can you please walk me through the signatory entity suggestion that you've made, just so we're clear about what it is that you're saying in layman's terms? That would be helpful. And the other thing is, thank you so much for, you've pretty much drafted the part of the bill that you'd like to see inserted. So I don't know if it's going to be as easy as copy and paste, cut and copy, but let's hope. The appointment that you're suggesting in there, do you see that as an independent position or something that sits within a government department? Thank you.
So maybe I'll answer your second question first. So we consider that, so there does need to be some sort of regulatory body, but an independent dispute resolution operator is always what we see as best. And the removal as far away as possible from the organisation. So whether it is run by the Ministry of Disability is probably what we think, but the operator of the dispute resolution scheme needs to be as independent as possible from that. So we consider that by being minister, whoever that operator is, by being minister appointed, adds that additional layer of independence. The signatory entities, so we would assume that and consider that entities would be part of this scheme, and entities could also, who are not obliged to be part of the scheme, could voluntarily sign up to be part of that. So where it is not specified that this entity takes part and participates in the dispute resolution scheme, that those wanting to take part could sign up to commit to being part of that dispute resolution process. We also think that it's a far better way than various organisations going off on their own pathway to create standards and a dispute resolution system within their own organisation around accessibility, but to come in alignment with each other and to really collaborate, share ideas, share learnings to really create an equitable, accessible system for New Zealand.
I see. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jessica. Are there any other question, members? Well, thank you, members, and thank you to thank you, Jessica. You are our last submitter for today, and I just want to thank everyone who have submitted. And the committee will now move into private session. And if everyone in the office, could you please depart? So thank you so much.